Virginia smoke. OVS, Old Virginia smoke. OVS, Old Virginia smoke. OVS, Old Virginia smoke. Old Virginia.
My name is Luke Darnell, Pitmaster of Old Virginia Smoke Barbecue, and I'm here to tell you about my new online class available at barbecuechamps.com. This is a 100% tell-all competition barbecue class from yours truly, available online. It is a masterclass with 34 high-definition tell-all online competition barbecue videos that can be watched anytime, and they do not expire. They are packed full of pro tips, techniques, and recipes that will show you how to take your barbecue to the next level. These 34 barbecue cooking videos total 7 hours and will show you everything that you need to take your competition cooking to a level that you never thought was possible. We've already heard from several teams that have bought our classes and have already seen success and gotten their first calls. So this is something that brings me a lot of joy in sharing my knowledge and seeing people be successful with it. So are you ready to take your competition and backyard cooking to the next level? What are you waiting for? Just go ahead and go to barbecuechamps.com and find Luke Darnell, Old Virginia Smoke. We hope you learn a lot and enjoy these videos and have as much fun cooking these recipes as we had making them. This podcast is brought to you by barbecuedata.com. Barbecuedata.com is your one-stop shop for all of your barbecue competition data. Historical data, calls, wins, placements, everything under one roof. It's a great way not only to track yourself in the standings, but also to track how you improve your scores from year to year. Listeners of this podcast can receive 20% off of a new subscription to barbecuedata.com with the code PITPOD. That's one word, all capital letters, PITPOD, PITPOD. So check your team scores, check on others, and do it all on barbecuedata.com. Welcome to another edition of Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. My name is Luke Darnell, Pitmaster of Old Virginia Smoke, and your host today. And I wanted to give a little preface to this conversation because we might get into some stuff that the KCBS board has been working on and stuff. So the reviews reflected on this podcast are not those of KCBS or any of its board members, just Luke Darnell's and our guest today. So with that, I would like to invite in one of the exciting young cooks that's out here on the East Coast, and has got one of the coolest names in barbecue, Josh Yagel with Leaning Jowler Barbecue. What's up, fella?
What's up, Luke?
How you
doing, buddy?
I'm good.
Oh, I'm hanging in there. Keeping busy.
Yeah. So why don't you tell everybody, what is a leaning jowler?
Probably the most common question I get day in, day out at a competition. So when I was a kid, there was a game that I used to play with my parents called Pig Mania. And in that game, it's also called Pass the Pigs, some variation of that game. So you would roll these dice that were shaped like pigs, and depending on how they landed, you got X amount of points or whatever. And the hardest thing to roll in the game was called a leaning jowler. So when I was trying to come up with a name, I'm not super clever sometimes. So I went back on Old Reliable, dug deep into the bag, and came up with that one.
I knew it was pig related whenever you first started competing, and it was one of my, I don't know. It's weird when I'm at a contest and I hear a name that I like. So every time that you would get a call, I just go, Jowler!
Yeah, I always hear it.
And then that turned into, whenever I met you, that's all I called you. And I didn't know your real name for like a year.
That sounds about right. Most people don't.
And I called Little Bear for a long time till he friend requested me, and then found out his real name, and I was very upset. I didn't want to know his real name. Anyway, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm glad to be on.
You're in the midst of a backyard campaign this year. You're currently 8th in KCBS backyard.
Yep.
What's your goals for the season?
So I came into the year really trying to chase points, and I kind of determined preseason that this was the year I was really going to go after it. I went for it pretty aggressively last year. I think I did right around 20 comps last year, 19 maybe. So I decided this year, like I'm basically going to run a similar schedule to last year, but add in a couple, one or two other ones just to really try to fill it out and really make a run for it. So season hasn't panned out exactly as we wanted to so far. We're getting a lot of good calls. Just the number one's evading me so far. So
Well, sometimes the changes of the judges' tastes change throughout the off season for some reason. I'm not sure why, but sometimes certain things hit, and then sometimes things stop hitting. So
yeah, you're right. I'm certainly not complaining. Yeah, I'm not complaining about the year we've had so far. We've got a couple good calls. RGC'd our first comp. Just man, we're right there every time, and just man, we're missing just by fractions of a point. So we'll get there. I'm confident we'll get her a couple things dialed in and get her turned around.
Right on. What are your plans in terms of the future of the Leading Jowler Barbecue team? Is there any aspirations to go to the pro level?
Yeah, so I mean, going Masters is definitely in the picture at some point, but I have a couple of hurdles that really stand in my way. Probably the biggest one, I think, being I don't have a teammate. Like I basically run solo. I have kind of a teammate by committee system, so I have lots of family and friends that are always willing to come out and help. So I have yet to cook a contest completely by myself, but I'm cooking with somebody different pretty much every week. My dad cooked with me a lot last year. He was really my go-to guy last year, and he broke his ankle in the off season, so he's kind of hauled up here for the next couple of months. So I've had some buddies out. My buddy Jamie, a guy that judges a lot, he had asked to cook with me, so he's cooked with me a few times. My brother and a couple of buddies from college. So just kind of like I say, teammate by committee. So that's really one of the things that I think in the end holds me back from going up is. It's a lot of work, a lot of money, a lot of time. And, I have two young kids. I work full time. So, for me, it's a hobby and I don't know that I have the time, money or energy to do it by myself. So until I can get that, a commitment from somebody that it's going to help split the cost and split the workload, I feel like I'm kind of stuck where I'm at a little bit, And I've reached out, I put some feelers out to people to try to gauge some interest from some people. And it's a lot. It's a lot. You know how it is. It's a lot to commit to, if you really want to do, the amount of competitions. Like I say, I think I have 21 or 22 on the schedule this year. So to commit to doing that many, it's a lot.
22 backyard contests this year.
Yep.
See, I think we could easily make that 13 to 14 pro contests.
You're probably right.
Much more gratifying for you in the grand scheme of things. But I also understand the teammate thing. What do you think as you chase this goal this year, what are your current biggest challenges? The Mid-Atlantic is there's some really good teams in the Mid-Atlantic right now. So like I say, getting those first places are, where sometimes in the past there'd be certain comps where, I would kind of go in expecting that I had a real good chance to get a first place. And now it's almost every comp I'm battling, a large group of teams that could win on any day, So I think one of the biggest challenges is just the skill level of teams that I'm competing against week in and week out. A lot of the teams have really, really upped their game and it's just made it a lot more competitive, which makes it, a lot more fun in my opinion, but a lot more difficult to really, get the points that you need. What did you do in the off season to up your game?
Not a whole lot. So for me, I have, like I say, I have two young kids. One of my kids has autism, so he has some special needs that I really have to attend to. So a lot of my off season is really I focus on family. So for me, a big part of my off season is just regrouping, recharging my battery, spending a lot of time with family that maybe sometimes get missed out on a little bit during the season. I really try to involve my family. I bring my kids, especially my oldest Cooper. He comes with me all the time, every chance we get. My girlfriend a lot will bring my youngest son. Anytime that she's able to come, she'll bring him along. So I get to spend a little bit extra time with them there. But like I say, my off season really is I'm not focused on barbecue. I'm really not. I'm focused on my family and getting that time back that I might have missed a little bit during the summer.
Yeah, I get that. That was a hard time for us too. Whenever we first jumped all the way in, and cooking 25, 30 times a year, and we didn't see anybody. That's what we knew, and you got to develop a balance. What's
For
the
sure.
immediate future like? Like, what's the next month look like?
So next month I have I'm off this coming weekend, and then I'm in Morgantown for Twin Valley Fire and Smoke the weekend after that, and then we head south to Tennessee for the World Invitational in Lebanon, and we're cooking I'm teaming up with Eric King from Uncle Dubby's Backyard Barbecue, and we're cooking the Masters Open together on Saturday, and then cook the Invitational obviously on Sunday. Then I think I'm off for a week or two after that, and then I have was it York County Barbecue Festival, I think, right after that. Or no, I'm sorry, Catskills Barbecue in Grantsville, New York. It's pretty packed full, and then it kind of tapers off a little bit after that. Then I kind of dial down to about one a month. But usually they're doubles. I try to work. It's a turn off for me to not go to a double. I do almost the same amount of work for a double as I do for a single. So if I can't get a single, I try to stay away from them as much as I can to get my best bang for my buck. But yeah, so it's pretty busy couple weeks.
So you and Dubby are teaming up to cook the Masters at KCBS Worlds.
Yes, sir. We did it last year too, and we fared pretty well, and we were happy with how we finished. I think we finished like 45th out of 118 with a 25th pork, I think, and like a 40th chicken, I think it was. So
I'm gonna need a piece of that brisket down there.
Oh, actually, it's funny. We cooked our brisket last year, and that's really what killed us because we ended with I think we had like a 687, and we thought our brisket, when we were all done with our turn-ins, oh man, our brisket, that's the best thing we had, like the best thing we turned in, and we got slaughtered. This is the worst score we got. We got like a 163 or 64 or something like that. So it's funny how that shook out, but
yeah, that kind of happens from time to time. It's the hardest meat to score in.
Yeah, for sure.
It is not the easiest thing. That was where we really got to know each other last year. Was the KCBS Worlds.
Yeah.
I love that contest. I think it's a good contest. I love that they do that fantasy draft thing. Whoever does it, I think it's Mandy.
You were my first pick. You were my first pick.
I know. I remember. I was sitting there like Shador Sanders, going, I'm here, motherfuckers. Like, what are we doing? Is anybody going to take me?
I looked over. I was next to you. I said, nobody's picked you yet, have they? So I'm up here in a couple picks. You notice I didn't pick myself in that draft, though.
Right. It paid off, if I recall.
It did. I had you and Hand Squad, I believe. And so between the two of you, I think I got like fifth place or something like that. I won a couple $100, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, what in terms of this points chase, like what's the furthest you're driving?
So Tennessee is pretty much it, but that's to be expected, I guess. Outside of that, we have a bunch in Virginia. We did barbecue gives back in Urbana. We're signed up for the Triple Crown that Bill and Mary Jones are running in Doswell, Virginia. We just went to Williamsburg for the Revolutionary Barbecue Brawl. New York, we're going to Delaware for the first state barbecue bash that Hand Squad's putting on. I think that's about it for probably as far as we're going. So which I'm in like north central Pennsylvania, so that's about 6 hours for me. Southern Virginia, those are all 5-6 hours away.
Right on. Well, we'll be following you to see what success looks like here. And,
hopefully we can turn around and start getting some first place calls. Got a few seconds already, a few thirds, a few fourths. Like, man, just like, and I'm losing by fractions of a point. So we're right there. So I just gotta jump it up.
It's fun to know what you're going through, and to know what your goals are, and then to watch you at awards and get that ninth place chicken call. And
yeah, you heard it. Yeah. But it didn't help that I had a bet with you that day either.
No, it didn't help. And
you got first chicken that day, I believe, didn't you?
No, we were seventh, I believe.
Seventh.
We should have gotten first. Our chicken the day two was, I knew better than what was happening, and sometimes Kim gets a little squirrely about the probe we put in the chicken. If it's reading funky, she's like, well, you have to fix it. And I'm like, I don't want to open that.
Yeah, I refuse to open my smoker when I'm cooking chicken unless I absolutely have to.
No, we opened the foil.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Yeah, that's trouble.
Twice. So that was dumb. But, living like, you always learn something. So,
yep.
Well, Yeah, man, this is it's exciting to have a backyard guy on there, and in terms of cooking 2 meats versus 4 meats, it is a challenge, but it'll be interesting to see what happens going down the road in KCBS as they talk about the 2 different categories.
Yeah. It's for so many of the backyard teams, I know it's a lot of the cost, the cost associated with it. And for myself, like a big part of what I enjoy doing is cooking a lot of competitions. It's like, it's kind of my escape from work and, the daily grind. So I enjoy doing a lot of competitions, and I know, especially if I don't wrangle together a consistent teammate, the money I have only stretches so far. So, if I jump up to masters, the amount of competitions that I'm capable of doing gets cut in half, right away. So, eventually I got to make that decision of, okay, like, do I want to jump up or do I want to continue cooking the amount of competitions that I do? It's a big balancing act. So like I say, I'm definitely going to make the jump at some point. It's just a matter of when and nailing down a firm teammate, because, the guy I used to cook with, Joe, he was great, man. He was a great cook, awesome guy. But I think the time got to him a little bit, and just didn't want to do it as much anymore, which I completely understand. It's a big time commitment. So so partner shopping.
Partner shopping, yeah, that's one thing too. Though, if I was going to give you advice, you're never really a partner. You can have a teammate, but if you want to maintain decision-making ability and all of that, we tried the whole splitting things 3 ways back when we started, and people had different responsibilities, and we learned very quickly that it had to be a one-man show, one person running the ship and then the other people helping. And when we made that decision, that was a huge change in the way we cooked and the program and stuff like that. So
sure. And honestly, I think a lot of what I would like out of a partner is I'd almost rather have somebody that has never cooked a piece of barbecue in their life, and I can come in and show them how I like to do it and how I want it done. And you know what I mean? Just be easier. Like you said, then you don't have that conflict of interest, and they want to do it this way and you want to do it that way. And
right. Well, it's always, runs into that. I don't know. Just something for you to think about moving forward.
Yep. No, that's good advice.
Yeah, man. So tell people where they can find you online. You got any sponsors you need to shout out?
Yeah, so I got a great family of sponsors. Storm and Park is a local insurance company out of State College, Pennsylvania. They swooped in at the last minute and sponsored me and really took care of me. They've been awesome so far. Springer Mountain Farm Chicken takes great care of me. This is the second year I've been sponsored by them, so they're a huge asset. Utsworks Sauces and Rubs. Same thing. He takes really good care of me, and I live and die by his stuff. I absolutely, I love a lot of his products. So they're used heavily in both my rib and chicken programs. And then Wolf Run Veterinary Clinic, a local veterinary clinic, that been a sponsor of me for a couple of years now. Also, they take great care of me. So really hugely appreciative of them. Their support allows me to do the amount of comps that I do. So it's great. As to where they can find me, Facebook, I think Facebook is Leading Jowler Competition Barbecue Team. And on Instagram, which I don't use Instagram too much, but I think it's Leading Jowler BBQ on Instagram.
Very cool, man. Well, we're going to make sure that we're going to have you back in probably sometime in the fall and check in with you and see what's going on in the backyard world and see how you're faring. So
yeah, I'd be happy to.
And I can't wait to yell Jowler out down at the KCBS World.
I love it. I hope to hear it.
All right, brother. We'll see you out there.
Hey, thanks for having me, Luke. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you for listening to Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. Be sure to subscribe and like the podcast, rate the podcast, and to share it out with your friends. Also, be sure to check out the Old Virginia Smoke TikTok as well. Old Virginia Smoke, one word. That's all you have to search for. It's hilarious. Tune in next week for another great episode of Pitmaster. For companies interested in advertising, please contact Old Virginia Smoke directly via www.oldvirginiasmoke.com. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is edited by Chris Sedanka. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is a property of Old Virginia Smoke, LLC.
Old Virginia Smoke.